Salmon, great with herbs, great with vegetables. What we're going to do today is roasted carrots with some thyme, lemon and coriander on our salmon. So we're going to start off with the vegetables. All you want to do, chop one end off, chop the other end off. Nice slice down the centre, make sure you keep your fingers out of the way. And if you think one side's too big, what you're going to do is chop it straight down the centre again. Personal preference really, but this is the size I like. You're going to have a little saucepan on parboil. You're going to grab all the carrots, bring them over to the saucepan, whack them in there, parboil them for about 3 to 4 minutes. 2 salmon fillets. I always recommend buying a salmon side and descaling it yourself. Run the back of the knife over the scales just to get rid of it from tail to top. And then just slice it into your own portions. It'll save you a lot of money. You can make your own portions, it's a lot better. Coriander, not too much. Thyme, just a little bit. Chop it up quickly. Roll it up into a tight bunch and just start trimming away. Okay, all we're going to do is sprinkle a little bit of coriander and thyme onto the top of these salmon. Bit of salt on top, and then we're going to pass all these up. But first, we need a lemon. To get the most juice out of your lemons, you're just going to put it on a work surface, get your arm, and roll the lemon, and it forces the juice to the skin. Ring on each salmon. Pass all these up. Make sure you leave a little bit of air in there so it can steam. A little bit of lemon juice, coriander and thyme, a couple of squirts of olive oil. Drop them out onto the tray. You do gas mark 6 for about 20 minutes. That should give it enough time to steam the salmon and roast the carrots, and we'll come back then. Making mayonnaise is extremely difficult, and if you mess it up, it's not coming back together easily. Make sure you separate the white from the yolk and drop it straight in. A spoonful of English mustard, just to give it a little bit of heat. Not too much, you're not really going to notice the mustard flavour. We're going to use groundnut oil because it's a nut oil, which means it doesn't have any flavour whatsoever. Made from peanuts, so if you've got a nut allergy, probably not the most advisable thing to do. When adding the oil, you're going to want to add it at a trickle, because if you add it too much, you're going to split the eggs. It's not going to go well, it's going to curdle. If your mixture does split and you add the oil too fast, then just remember to do it at a trickle, and instead of dumping the mixture, just add another egg yolk, black pepper. I use pink Himalayan rock salt. You're going to notice an instant colour change. Half a lemon, straight into the mayo. That there is your basic homemade mayonnaise. This will be good in the fridge for about a week, 7 days. Salmon's ready, let's get it out of the oven. Just serve your carrots up, along with your salmon and your mayo, and you're good to go. Mexican wedding cookies, absolute delicacy in Mexico. What we're going to do is we're going to make them 225 grams of softened butter with 50 grams of icing sugar. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract to the mixture. Add in 280 grams of plain flour, sifted. Get your hands in there. What we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of pecan nuts to this. Mush those in, and we'll have the perfect dough to make 35 wedding cookies. Pecan nuts, absolutely great. They're going to go in this dough, however you need to chop them. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to chop them. I'm going to put them into a bag, tie the bag up, get a cup, and just crush the nuts. Sprinkle your bag of pecans onto the dough. Easy peasy, anyone can do it. Perfect. This dough makes enough mixture for 35 crescent-shaped Mexican wedding cookies. So you're just going to get a teaspoon at a time, make 35 little chunks. What we're going to do is we're going to shape it into a little crescent shape. We're going to roll it into a circle, pull it down, shape the corners, sort of like a big cashew. That's what you want to go for, a big cashew nut. Put it on the tray. You just do that with every single one of these. Now we put these in the oven. The gas mark 5, 190 degrees, for about 20 minutes. A little longer if they don't cook. About 25 minutes should be absolute tops. Once you've took your Mexican wedding cookies out of the oven, place them onto a cooling rack to cool for about 10 to 15 minutes. And once they're cool enough, sprinkle some icing on. You don't want to do it too soon after they've came out, otherwise the icing is going to turn into a glaze and it'll look horrible and probably turn green. As students, we understand that you don't often have herbs and spices in your house. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a recipe that doesn't require herbs or spices but can be added. We're going to make tuna with a black bean accompaniment. Now what we do is 100 grams of black beans, soaked overnight. Just quickly drain those and into a pan. Half a white onion, peeled, into the pan. 1 carrot, chopped into thirds, into the pan. Add enough water to cover the beans by about 1 centimetre. Now at this point you can have fresh thyme, but we're not going to. All we're going to add is 1 bay leaf. Straight in, leave it to simmer, and then leave it to cook for 40 to 50 minutes just to reduce that water to a nice consistency where it has a nice moisture to the actual food. Okay, because we're going to sear our tuna, what we're going to do first, because it's a nice big 2 centimetre cut of tuna, what we're going to do is we're going to cook it in the oven first at gas mark 6 for about 15 minutes just to make sure it's cooked pretty well before we sear it, and then we're going to sear it for about 2 to 4 minutes each side depending on how we like it. Put it in the oven for about 15 minutes at gas mark 6. We're going to crush this garlic so we can take the wrapper off easier. Now we're going to chop half the garlic up into thin slices. The thing with garlic is, it absolutely stinks, so get ready to not smell your fingers for the next couple of days. It's been about 15 minutes, we're going to take this out of the oven now. You're going to want to remove the onion, the bay leaf, and the carrots, and simply be left with your beans. If you added spices at this point, then you'd have to remove your bundle of spices too. Remove your beans now. You can have a little bit of liquid in the pot, however you don't want too much. Next you're going to want to cut an onion. Just finely chop it. Add a few squirts of olive oil to your pan. Add your garlic and onion. At this point, you can add fresh coriander, chopped and whacked in, or you can add a bit of spring onion as well. However, we're just going to keep it basic with nice red onion. Now I'm just going to add the black beans to the onions. I think it's looking a little sad being as there's no actual colour in there other than purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop a little bit of parsley, but if you have it, better to use coriander. Straight into the pan, push, and then pull back. Just to mix it all about. Push, pull back. Now back to the tuna. One side, we're going to put pepper on. Quite a lot, because 70% of this is lost as soon as it hits the pan. Then salt. And into the pan. On that side, you don't want any oil in the pan because it's a griddle pan. And the last thing you want to do to a griddle pan is add oil. Coriander seeds into a pestle and mortar. Crush them. Crush coriander seeds straight onto the top of the tuna. Get a lemon, roll it, and just spray it onto the tuna. After about 4 minutes, you just want to turn the tuna over. Once your tuna's finished cooking, just serve it up onto a plate. Drizzle some lemon juice over the top, and you're done. Eggs Benedict with crispy Parma ham. The secret to this dish is to have your eggs perfectly separated from the whites. The hollandaise is the most important part of this dish because if you don't get your hollandaise right, it's just all going to fall apart. 3 free-range egg yolks over a rolling boil. It's very important to not season at this point because if you season it, you're going to break the eggs. About a tablespoon of white wine vinegar, tarragon if you got it, but any white wine vinegar will do. It just gives it that acidity that you're looking for. Good way to test if you've got a good consistency to your hollandaise, just get a spoon, see if it coats it nicely. You want it to coat it, and just stick there. This is going to act as a glaze for your poached eggs. Season. lemon. Add a little bit of oil to a pan. We're going to cook our crispy Parma ham in this. And then once we've finished cooking the ham, we're going to slap our English muffins straight on top. So instead of toasting them, just going to get a nice top to them so it doesn't soak up all that moisture from the eggs. This takes a few seconds, maybe a minute to cook. It's very thin, you can see an instant change when you put it in the pan. Spin your water, crack your egg, straight in the centre. We're going to use the oil from the bacon and place it right on top, just to give it a nice layer. Drain the eggs. Once your muffins are cooked perfectly, straight over onto a plate. Your egg. Spoon your hollandaise on in one quick scoop. Beef Wellington, amazing as a main dish, and also you can use it for any occasion, so birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, perfect dish all year round. You're going to use a nice fillet of beef, fine sinews running all the way through it. You're going to sear the fillet of beef on all sides, just to lock in that flavour. You don't want to cook it all the way through. 700 grams of mushrooms. 700 grams of mushrooms into a food processor. You want to get all the moisture out of the mushrooms as much as you can without burning the mushrooms. Once you've done that, bring it up to a plate, place them all onto a plate, ready to cool off. You want to get that fresh thyme straight on there after chopping it. Finely chop it, just mix it in really quickly. It doesn't have to be accurate because you're just going to roll this into the pastry along with the beef Wellington. You're just going to paste the whole thing with English mustard to give it a slight bit of heat. You won't notice it once it's cooked, but it just adds a little bit of depth of flavour to it. With our Wellington, we're going to do roasted parsnips. Whack them in, 5 minutes to parboil, exactly like we did with the carrots, into the tray at the same time as Wellington, into the oven at 200 degrees, 35 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on how rare you like. You're going to want to do 3 or 4 layers of cling film, depending on how thick your cling film is. If you've got nice, expensive cling film, you can use 3 layers. But if you've got thin cling film, like this, then you're going to have to use 4 layers. Just to make sure that as you bind the Wellington together, it's not going to fall apart easily. Layer on that Parma ham. Nice thin layer. You can use Spanish Serrano ham, but best to stick to Parma if you can get it. You're just going to want to layer this one right down the side, just to make sure you've got the entire Wellington covered. Spread these mushrooms nice and evenly. Don't want any lumps in our Wellington. I'm going to pull this piece up, fold it, just to make a nice, neat edge for the wrap. Wrap it nice and tight. You're going to want to put your wrapped fillet in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes just to firm it up. Wrap it in this nice bit of pastry. Triple layered cling film again. Make sure you get it nice and tight. You're going to want to pinch the ends shut and rip off any excess that you don't need. Egg wash over the entire Wellington. Just paste it on there pretty thick. It doesn't matter how thick. I'm just going to score both sides of the pastry to allow the heat to get in so it cooks nice. Gives it an artistic swing as well, and also allows the rock salt to stick when we add it. In the oven, 200 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. Because this is a big Wellington, I'm going to put it in for 40 minutes. And then we'll take it out, check temperature, cut it open, see if it's perfect. And there you have it. Perfect beef Wellington with roasted parsnips, petit pois and parsnip mash.